The juice is loose from his mortal coil. OJ Simpson has died at the age of 76. Many people in the audience are probably too young to remember when OJ was constantly in the news. So for those who don't remember, OJ, of course, was best known for being the only player to rush for 2,000 yards in a 14-game season. That is what he was best known for until he murdered his wife and her friend and then was let off the hook in a criminal case, but found liable for the murders in a civil case, a discrepancy that only occurred because racial tensions had been running high after LAPD officers had been acquitted after beating up a drunk-driving, wife-beating career criminal named Rodney King following a high-speed chase that reached 117 miles per hour, after which race riots broke out in LA, killing 63 people and injuring nearly 2,400 other people before the National Guard, the Army, and the Marines had to be called in to restore order. OJ's trial thrust his friend and sort of lawyer Robert Kardashian into the spotlight, which consequently foisted the rest of the Kardashian family onto America. Coverage of the trial got Norm Macdonald and Jim Downey booted off of Saturday Night Live, and the trial gave us the term N-word. That term really was not popular before the trial. It kind of invented the term, which is crazy. In a decade that saw the first impeachment trial of a U.S. president in 130 years, OJ's murder trial was still somehow the more significant and consequential trial. And our nation is still today grappling with its ultimate injustice. The significance of the OJ trial pretty much cannot be overstated. It is one of my first public memories. It was just in the news all the time, and the news was on in my house all the time. And so I just remember OJ Simpson was everywhere. And some people actually believed he was innocent, which is the craziest part. They found his blood at the scene. Okay, he just did it. Okay, he had a record of beating his wife, and he just obviously did it. And then he later kind of admitted that he did it in a book, and then he lost the civil trial. But there were still people who defended him. I remember Norm Macdonald, the late great Norm Macdonald, made a joke. It was the best joke of all of the OJ jokes. And Norm had made about 1 billion OJ jokes because he and SNL writer Jim Downey had just pummeled OJ constantly in the 90s. And Don Ohlmeyer, who was an NBC executive who was, I think, OJ's best friend, was so angry about this that he fired the writer Jim Downey. And then Norm said that if Downey was gone, Norm was going to quit too. And so it lost Norm the main spot on Saturday Night Live. But of all the jokes, the best one came at one of the, was it the ESPYs or I don't know, one of the sports awards. Norm was the MC. And here was his joke about the Heisman Trophy.
And there's Charles Woodson. How about that? What a season he had. Great, man. He became the first defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy. And congratulations, Charles. That is something that no one can ever take away from you. Unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case... all bets are off. Just a word of advice.
So you see in that scene, and just a cutaway to the audience reaction, it tells you everything you need to know about the OJ trial and the aftermath. There were 5 people pictured there, 2 white guys, 3 black guys, all athletes, one would imagine. And one black guy kind of puts his head in his hands. He's trying to muffle a laugh. Another black guy, is that Ken Griffey? Ken Griffey Jr.? Can't quite tell. I don't want to commit a racism by mixing someone up, but this is like 30 years ago. Is there not laughing, shaking his head. Then the third black guy is laughing. Then you look right behind him, the one white guy, he's laughing. The second white guy to his left is just doesn't know how to react. He's not laughing. This summed it up. This summed it up. Why was this a racial trial? It was a racial trial because OJ obviously did it. So the dream team of lawyers, which included Alan Dershowitz, which included Johnny Cochran, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit, which I guess included Robert Kardashian. Though Robert Kardashian was part of OJ's dream team of lawyers, in large part because he was a friend of OJ. He was going to let his law license lapse, actually. But by joining his legal team, he wouldn't have had to testify against OJ. And he hung around OJ and his murdered wife before she was gone a fair bit and was aware of the tensions in their marriage. So he didn't want to testify against him. So he ends up on the lawyer team. Then they realized the guy was guilty as sin. So the only way that they could possibly win was by making it a racial case and tying it to the Rodney King beating, which was this career criminal who was beaten up by the LAPD. And it worked. It totally worked. In fact, one of the jurors from that case admitted it years later. Said, yeah, we knew, basically all of us, that he was guilty, but this was kind of our revenge.
Do you think that they're members of the jury that voted to acquit OJ because of Rodney King?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
How many of you think felt that way?
Oh, probably 90% of us.
90%? Did you feel that way?
Yes.
That was payback.
Uh-huh.
You think that's right?
Wow, even she won't say that it's right, just puts her hands in the air. Because obviously it wasn't right. It's a great injustice. It was an injustice to this poor murdered woman. It was an injustice to her friend, Ron Goldman. It was any miscarriage of justice undermines the broader system of justice. When the libs say, justice, no one, I forget their stupid slogan, but it's something to the effect of no one will have justice until everyone has justice. In a way, that's kind of true, because justice is just giving to people what they deserve. So, if people are not getting what they deserve, it throws off the whole system in a body politic. And that is what happened here. And then the cynical playing of the race card set race relations way, way back. It created a lot of anti-cop fervor. And it gave us this term, the N-word. It worsened race relations in as much as there was a rumor that one of the cops, one of the detectives, had said the N-word. He didn't say the N-word. He said the actual word, which you're no longer allowed to say because it's a term that's more taboo than the ancient Israelites considered the holy name. And they were going to introduce this into evidence, and the prosecutor, the assistant DA, and the judge both said, "Man, this is catastrophic potentially. This is the nastiest word in the English language. It's so loaded, there's no way that the trial is going to be conducted fairly if that word is introduced." And what's amazing is if you look at coverage of the case and the word before this testimony was introduced, when the New York Times would write about the N-word, they would just write out the word. N-I-G-G-E-R. You truly, because of this case, you actually can't say this word even in a clinical reporting sense anymore in public. But before you could. The New York Times would write this word all the time. After the case, they would never write it anymore. They would only write the euphemism, the N-word. Totally shifted taboos on, not just on race, but on cops, on justice, on criminals, on victims. So what do? We should pray for OJ. You should pray for the soul of everyone who died. I guess we pray for his victims too. And pray for Norm, who never got to see the final. I guess he knew how it was going to turn out anyway. And there's a little bit of justice, which is that OJ Simpson can rest peacefully knowing that his wife's killer is now dead as well. Man, that was a great clip. Now ring that bell, subscribe to the Michael Knowles YouTube channel, and we will see you next time.